Today, I'm going to be taking this brutal train journey through the Balkans for over 13 hours. I'll ride from Sofia in Bulgaria, dealing with a challenging border crossing and arriving into Romania's capital, Bucharest. With boiling hot weather for today's travels, some ancient carriages without air conditioning, and poor condition track, this international journey is certainly going to be a challenge. So join me for this intense ride through Bulgaria and Romania. Hello and welcome back to another video. Today I'm here at Sofia Centralna in the capital city of Bulgaria, and I'm going to be catching the international train up to Bucuresti. It's a 10-hour journey, so I'm sure it's going to be an interesting experience. Let's go. Welcome to the forecourt of Sofia Centralna, the main station here in this European capital. Despite only being 1 kilometre away from the city centre, it's not actually that easy to get here on foot, with no clear walking route from the nearby road to the entrance. I'm running a little bit late for my train today, so let's waste no time heading into the station. The present structure on this site was built in 1974, receiving an overhaul as recently as 2016. The building features plenty of seating in a very open space, decorated with plants too. There are also ticket counters, with one of these apparently selling international tickets. Despite visiting multiple times, they refused to issue me tickets for the international train. Thankfully, when I visited Varna on the opposite side of Bulgaria, the ticket office there promptly sold me them with no issue. All platforms here can be accessed from the subway. Down here, you'll find a few shops and eateries, as well as another set of ticket counters. My train today will be number B2601, the 0705 service to Varna and Bucharest via Gorna Station. We'll be departing from track 11, so let's head over there now and see what will be taking me on the 10-hour ride to Romania's capital. By the way, all platforms can theoretically be accessed by lift, but whether or not these will actually be working is another thing entirely. Whilst many countries would operate their most modern and fastest trains on international routes, here in Bulgaria this is what we get. These carriages were built in the 1980s and are second-hand from the East German railway operator, Deutsche Reichsbahn. The locomotive for today's journey is even older, with this beautiful Škoda electric locomotive dating back to the late 1970s. This is a Class 44, capable of 130 km an hour and operated by Bulgaria's national operator, Balgarski Darzhavni Zheleznitsi. All passengers on this route must have a seat reservation. This is coach 472, but I was reserved in coach 471. Luckily, this coach was also labelled as 471, which was nice, I guess. The next coach actually had the same two numbers, 471 and 472, so I just chose one of them and sat down. Our train does feature first class, however this is decoupled before the border, so anyone looking to travel to Romania will have to travel in second class. This features compartments, each with either 6 or 8 seats. Today's route will first see us heading east across to Gorna Station, before going north across the border at Rusa and into Bucharest. The journey is scheduled to take 10 hours exactly to cover 526 kilometres or about 327 miles. We end up departing Sofia Centralna on time at 0705, beginning our long and slow journey over to the Romanian capital. While leaving the station, look out for the repurposed locomotive from the 60s, now used as an electrical transformer. Our first station is within 5 minutes of departure, and still in the capital city. Sofia Sever translates as Sofia North Station, and I'm sure you'll agree it's not in the best condition. A lot of today's route uses very old infrastructure, with a lot of it being in poor condition. Even many of the trains are second-hand from abroad, bought at bargain prices. This is a British Rail Class 87, which came here in the mid-2000s alongside a few other British locomotives. As we head north, we pass through a lot of smaller stations, most of which are served only by commuter trains into and out of Sofia. Let's take a look at the compartment I'll be spending 10 hours in today. Bulgarian Railways has two different compartment types in its fleet. Those with 6 seats for longer journeys, and those with 8 seats for shorter and busier routes. Now if I ask you to guess which one I had, yeah, that's right, it's one of the 8-seater ones. Each side has a long cushioned bench, with an armrest down the middle. These can each fit 4 people. Despite the rather basic appearance, this was actually really comfortable. Atop the seat, there's a headrest, with wings at the edges and centre. Above this, you can find 2 sets of luggage racks, one for smaller items with a larger one up top. Compartments have a sliding door, which you can lock, but only from the outside. This is useful if you're transporting a criminal, but I didn't have any of those with me today. There's a single folding armrest located in the middle of the 4 seats, which really does remind you of how uncomfortable this compartment would be if it were full. Thankfully, I was just travelling with this little guy, despite travelling in summer season. But this room with 8 people would not have been fun. At the window, there are a pair of small tables, one with a bottle opener that, with the right bottles, makes the journey go faster. Beneath these, you can find a bin. There's also a temperature control, which allows you to turn up the heating. Of course, these carriages don't have any air conditioning, which is fine with the windows open while moving at speed. But if you ended up stuck somewhere, say for a few hours, it would soon become pretty unbearable. Stick around to see how that goes. We are currently working our way through the Western Balkan mountains, with the full range covering the entire width of the country. This mountain pass is the Iskar Gorge, with its limestone and sandstone walls sometimes reaching nearly 300 meters tall. The route follows the Iskar River for a lot of the journey, this itself being the longest river that runs within Bulgaria. Our train is quite a bit longer than the 1 or 2 carriages that actually go to Bucharest. The rest of the consist forms an express train to Varna, with the international portion being detached en route at Gorna Station. But until then, we can enjoy the winding motion of the long train making its way north. After an hour and a half, we've left the Iskar Gorge to stop at the next station. This is Mizra. The town had a population of just 76 people, until the construction of the Sofia to Varna railway resulted in the settlement seeing large growth. Nowadays, the town has over 10,000 residents and is a key railway junction in Bulgaria. The scenery here is a bit less dramatic, to state the obvious. However, this does mean we can reach our top speed of 130 km an hour a bit more often. This station is Pliven, which is in Bulgaria's 7th largest city. The city also has a large trolleybus network, with 17 lines serving the area. Well, let's take a quick look at the toilets that you'll unfortunately have to use on this journey. A toilet is located at each end of the carriage, just next to the doors, so be careful not to fall out in case they are wide open. And here it is. There's no toilet seat, or toilet paper, or soap, or anything really. There is at least some water dispensed from this very strange looking tap. All toilets on this train, and in Bulgaria generally, were in similar condition, so bear that in mind when taking these long journeys. This train also doesn't have a restaurant carriage for any section of the trip, so make sure you pack some snacks and plenty of water in case of an incident. Our next stop is Livsky, a junction for two separate branch lines running to Trojan and Svistov. These two local routes use some of the worst carriages in the European Union, even more basic than the compartment coach I'm in now. Let me know if you'd like to see a video on these old things in the comments. Around 4 hours into our trip, we're on the approach to Gorna Station. This station involves quite a complex manoeuvre to rearrange the consists of 3 separate trains. This of course means the train spends a bit of time here, so I decided to get off and have a brief look around. First up on my list was to visit this station's shop, as I foolishly didn't pack very much. After that, I spent my time watching the carriages get shunted into position. This is a TCDD carriage, which runs in service from Istanbul to Bucharest. It will be joining our consist here. We also receive a few carriages from Varna on Bulgaria's east coast, while coaches on our train going to Varna will detach here. If you do choose to get off the train here, make sure to get back on the right carriage, as there's a good chance it won't be in the same place you left it. We leave Gorna Station after around 20 minutes, to head north for Russe. I've got to say, after a fairly mild start, the temperature today is really quite hot. At the moment it's around 33 degrees Celsius, which is well above average for the area. I'm sure these British export locomotives have never seen such hot conditions. These large motorway bridges indicate that we are now approaching Russe, which is where we'll be crossing the border today. We arrive here about 20 minutes late, with a planned stop of around 1 hour for Bulgarian border control. Things aren't exactly fast moving at the station though. Minutes upon minutes tick away, with no sign of anything happening at all. Though at some point, border control comes along and takes away everyone's passports. 10 minutes after we were due to leave, the train from Romania arrives at the station. Sitting here in the beaming sun, with no airflow or shade, was really beginning to get uncomfortable. To add insult to injury, the other direction's train pulls out only a few minutes late. After nearly 2.5 hours of waiting, someone came along with bottles of warm water. Seems like they were left in the sun too. Finally, nearly 3 hours after we arrived, spending all of it sat in the 33-degree sun, our passports were given back with no problems. Then, a whistle blows and the train has authorization to continue at last. Now, I have no idea why this border crossing took 3 times longer than it was meant to, especially as there were only around 10 or 20 people in the carriage. But hey, I'm just glad to be back on the move. We are currently still physically in Bulgaria, heading through some of the freight yards on the way to the River Danube. The bridge, known as the Friendship Bridge, was constructed in the 1950s with support from the Soviet Union. The top part of it is a road bridge, with a toll payable for all vehicles. The train rides on the lower part of the bridge, with a single unelectrified track crossing between Bulgaria and Romania. And now we're in Romania. But there's still another border check to officially enter the country. Hopefully, not taking 3 hours this time. This will be taking place at Giorgio Nord. To give credit to the Romanian border police, this was complete within just half an hour. And so we were soon on the move. It was definitely a lot easier than my first attempt to visit Romania, where a corrupt official refused entry with no grounds. Much like in Bulgaria, agriculture is a big industry in Romania. The country is one of the largest exporters of sunflower seeds and plums. Whilst the train wasn't exactly fast in Bulgaria, things in Romania are even slower. The speed here is just over half of what it was in Bulgaria. Despite much of the route being perfectly straight, the track is in very poor condition. The overgrowth beside the track is totally out of control, so if you have the window open, watch out for any stray vegetation making its way in. The route to Bucharest is circuitous, despite the flat terrain in the area. In fact, the tracks we take from Giurgiu to Bucharest are nearly twice the distance compared to the most direct route. Some of the stations we pass on this electrified line are in a truly terrible condition. As someone from a country where even key long-distance routes aren't electrified, it really surprises me to see this. We are now joining the main line that connects Bucharest with the major cities of Craiova and Timișoara. This station is our last intermediate stop. It's in the town of Videle and the first station on the main line. After here, we can speed up a bit, with the condition of track being at least a little better. Anyway, let's go through how much this journey cost. I purchased a flexible one-way ticket and a compulsory seat reservation at a cost of 50.94 Bulgarian lev. I think this is pretty good value for money generally, despite the low quality experience. This station serves as an indication we're now in the city limits of Bucharest, meaning this long ride is nearly over. We are running around 3 hours late at the moment, mainly due to the border control delays and general slow running since then. As we arrive at București Gara de Nord, let me know in the comments whether you'd take this brutal 13-hour train journey. Arrival is 3 hours and 8 minutes behind schedule, one of the latest trains I've ever taken. Despite being a fun experience, I'd have to say that overall this is a pretty awful service, with one slow train a day that gets massive delays with very basic carriages. For most travellers, it's sadly no alternative to flying. Still, at a good price, I thought it was a really enjoyable way to see these two countries, even in the unbearable heat. This was a long trip with a big delay, but for another journey with a delay 3 times as long, then click up here now to see my trip on board the stunning night train from Serbia to Montenegro.